Well, thanks for being here, sir.
It's great to be here. Appreciate you asking.
Yeah, I hope, as I've said, hopefully we can do it once a quarter and kind of keep people up to date on what's going on. And
That'd be great.
there's a lot going on. So,
There is a lot going on, and once a quarter would probably be fitting because of the things that are happening and the updates that take place all the time.
hmm so if you'd like to start, you've been here for a few years, got some experience, but for those that don't know, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Terry Emery. I'm the city manager for Marysville, and I've been fortunate to be able to serve this community for the past 15 years. So, 15 years has been extremely rewarding, and I've found that Marysville is in a place right now where most communities wish they would be. So we're very, very fortunate.
All right, so you've been here for 15 years. Did you ever think it'd be that long?
Well, I'm not a person that tends to want to change. I've only worked for three communities in approaching my 40-year career in public service. So this is the third community, and I've stayed in each one. The shortest time period was about 9 years.
Nice. So I guess I'd be curious to know, you've been here for 15 years. W- can you look back or think back to when you started and did you know, did you think, did you hope that we'd be here?
Well, one of the reasons I was interested in coming to Marysville is exactly what's happening today. It was known throughout the region, and I was working in Gahanna at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was known throughout the region that Marysville had set itself up really well to become, um, a vibrant community in the future. And a big part of that was the utility infrastructure that had been put in place. That's usually the indicator that a community's ready to grow and expand and prosper. And so when that occurred, when this opportunity came up while I was in Gahanna, I thought that would be an excellent opportunity to pursue.
The place to be. So what was the catalyst for the infrastructure preparation? I mean, was it Honda? Was it PRC? And
No, that's a wonderful question. But the biggest catalyst behind the utilities was we had a wastewater treatment plant that was deficient and under EPA orders to change and improve. But it was very difficult in the site that it was in, which was right in uptown
Mm,
Marysville's area,
little landlocked.
and you could often, from people told me, you could often smell it within the community. So back in around the early 2000s, around 2003, 2004, 2005, the city went and pursued the development of a new what we call a water reclamation facility, which is a wastewater treatment plant, and decided to place it in a location that could allow for growth and expansion along the corridor here.
Mm-hmm.
So Marysville entered into an agreement with Union County to become the water sewer provider for the county at that time. And so that was a game changer,
Big
and
thing.
it's a big thing.
And so I guess I've never really heard the real story or the strategy behind, and I've heard that the other side of the reservoir and all that just went on out there. Can you fill us in a little on the
Exactly.
connection of all of that?
Yeah, even before my time as well, before I had arrived here, the city had secured a site, not only constructed a reservoir for our water
Mm-hmm.
existing water system, but secured a site out on Raymond Road for the future development of our new plant, which we just opened a couple years ago. And so um, the city planners and the city leaders uh, back in those days, and I'm talking 25 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
um, did an exceptional job of preparing the community for the future and what potentially was going to be coming because when you're redeveloping a community, uh, water rules. Water and wastewater systems rule the day.
It's kind of funny how things don't change. I think in Rome that was part of it, and other civilizations throughout history.
Yep. And
We're still there.
that's exactly what happened here. And you kind of watch that from the distance. When I was in Gehenna, you could kind of see the
Hmm.
preparation that was taking place here in this area for what potentially was going to become future growth and prosperity
A
for
lot,
this.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's one thing that most of us don't experience in our day-to-day existence, that kind of foresight and need for that foresight. And sometimes I see the challenges we experience in the community of expectations and reality. I remember when mom was on the school committee, uh, levy committee, back in whenever the last one, not this recent one,
Yeah.
but prior, went through, and '08 and everything, and the old middle school sat empty for a little while, and how whatever schools were open but not utilized. And she said, well, people don't really realize from the time you say go to having a school, it takes 7 years, and what we are experiencing around here, trying to plan for that
It's here.
is well here. But I guess what I'm saying is the planning that got us here needed to be very thought out years in advance. And I think what a lot of people experience and have heartburn with sometimes is what they experience now. And so just that challenge of it takes a long time to get those things in place and get all the Legos to fit together. And
Most
so,
communities have to work from behind quite a bit. So, in this particular case, in Marysville's case, they got ahead of the game. They were proactive,
mm-hmm.
and it's really served us well, uh, being in the position we're in, to have the utility infrastructure that we have, and now schools as well. They fall right into the same planning process. So it wins the day when you're prepared, and
Mm-hmm.
this county and this city certainly was.
Yeah. And I guess maybe a better articulation of what I'm getting at is I don't think sometimes we don't pay attention until it's happening and the planning already took place and all of those things. And so it's a challenge to keep people educated and,
Yes, it is.
even myself, as much as I try to pay attention and try to keep up with what's going on and,
Yeah.
trying to put our 2 cents in and everybody be involved at the table and all of that. But yeah, it's quite mind boggling to think how far it's come. And I mean, the last 5 years, the last 10 years and all of the things that have come about. Um, what as sometimes I think city manager. What does a city manager really do? Like, what do you enjoy most about being a city
You
manager?
know, I see the primary thing the city manager does is really help oversee the different departments and divisions of the city itself. So, what is encompassed under the city manager's role is the police department, the fire department, our Department of Public Service, all the service departments, streets, parks and recreation, human relations, our HR department, our IT department. I'm certainly forgetting something, but all those departments and the directors of those departments report to the city manager. So the biggest part of a city manager's role is overseeing the personnel, and making sure there's a vision in place and a common vision that everybody's working toward, because that makes everything move so much
Mm-hmm.
easier.
I'm not sure if that was an intentional segue or an accidental one. That was just a big thing, right? The vision project or
Yes,
visioning. What I
yes,
forget
no,
what the official
you're
term
exactly
is.
right. No, you hit it.
Hmm.
We've got uh, right now, I think there was an interest on the part of our city council to embark on a plan of establishing a vision. You know, we had always had strategic plans, and even well before I arrived, there was strategic planning processes
Mm-hmm.
that the city followed. But in this particular case, this gets into a much more detail in the visioning process, and we hired some consultants to assist us through this. Ed Michelson, who's been very involved with us, and a company called Realm is the consultant that's assisting us through this process. But what's really cool about this is it really establishes what we want this community to look like in the future as we develop it, as we redevelop it.
Mm-hmm.
What do we want it to be, and when we grow up? It's kind of like that.
Yeah, I've heard that phrasing with us here and Johnstown with Intel and all of that. And who do we want to be when we grow up as a
That's
community?
exactly, exactly. So it's been a very valuable experience, not only because we've had council members involved, very involved in the process. And Donald Berger's been very involved. Scott Hunter, Julie Kramer has been very involved, as well as our staff, from economic development staff to our engineering and planning staff. We've had various individuals involved. So as this is gets into the area of completion,
Mm-hmm.
this vision should be common to everybody across the board of the direction we're going.
Yeah, and when I've heard training things about vision and whatnot, that
Mhm.
it's really a tool, or it can be and should be a tool, like you said, to bring the different departments, the different entities and personnel and whoever it is, the
Yes.
separateness come together and really have a vision to move forward. And there was some community engagement there as well, right?
We
Some
have.
opportunities for people to.
We've had multiple community engagement meetings that have been extremely valuable. We got some excellent input from our citizens.
Mm-hmm.
We also were able to go into the high school,
Ah,
and we went in to talk to some of our future
yeah.
residents and professionals that'll be in our community. What do they want to see as our community continues to grow up? And we got some fantastic input from the students as well. So it is involved not only internally our staff and our city council and those type of individuals, but it's reached out to the community as well, and it's going to serve our purpose as
Mm-hmm.
we prepare the final product.
So, are there any takeaways at this point?
The takeaways are that everything we do, from a development consideration to a growth or
Mm-hmm.
a redevelopment of a site, you really have to think through what the plan should be and how it should be developed. A good example, and we'll talk about it more, is the silo site that's
Mm-hmm.
getting ready to really take off here in 2026. It's a 17-acre redevelopment site that wasn't officially a part of the visioning process, but probably would have fell in to the visioning process naturally just because of the acreage that we have there and the ability to reuse the silos as well as our old water plant there. So it's really kind of cool that we had already started that process,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to fall into exactly what our vision plan is interested in doing moving forward.
Yeah, Ed kind of walked me through the I forget what he had a nickname for that. Their kind of war room of all of
Yes,
their things on the wall
yes.
and
We
concept.
call it the White House.
White House, that's right.
We have the White House there on 6th Street, which is right adjacent to City Hall. It's a house that the city obtained. There was an accounting firm there previously. It's has served us well over the past several months to be able to utilize this site, because if anybody has an interest, anybody in the community has an interest to want to see how we're using it, we have exhibits all over the first floor of the White House from the work that is taking place thus far and potentially what's going to be happening in the coming months.
Yeah, and I got to say, walking through it, I thought, oh boy, another strategic plan. These
Yeah.
are exciting. It actually was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to your world of strategic plans, but for the most part, it's kind of infrastructure and nothing too crazy. But yeah, there was some good stuff in there. And I think, especially with, like you said, the silos and all the other things that we've got going on in town, bringing that together and that cohesiveness moving forward. There was some really, dreaming.
I hope people too. We're doing a little bit of both right now. We have a strategic plan in place, which we just updated City Council on within the last month on the status of our current strategic plan. But this visioning plan goes far beyond even what our strategic plan does. It gets into more details on the future, how when we grow, how are we going to connect areas, walkability, tree
So would a
plantings.
good distinction in those two things be more along the lines of tangible and intangible? One's like
Yeah,
what it's going to be, one's more what it's going to feel like. I
yes,
feel like it's kind of more of the visioning, and I think
yes,
that's kind of the um, part that really hasn't been there, and
you're
or
exactly right.
but yeah. So I think that's bringing those two worlds together and really getting that, and that's what just Ed's a bit of a salesman in that. I guess he's been
Yeah.
doing it long enough, and just the things he was talking about. Oh man, that would actually, yeah, I can see that and envision that and see how bringing those elements of the strategic plan and the feeling together.
Yeah, and if nobody has met Ed yet, Ed lived in Marysville and was part of our commissions. Ed knows our community well, and
Just us kids here.
yep, and so we're very fortunate to have somebody involved in this process that has close ties to Marysville and has a true understanding of what a vibrant, prosperous community can look like into the future.
Yeah, well, it sounds like he's got quite the experience at different places and some worldwide experience
Sure
and
does.
some somewhat local. But yeah, it's definitely that's had a conversation with Kara Brown from Board of DD yesterday, and it's a frequent thing that comes up, just the collaboration and in our community of. And I was joking, well, I wonder if that's because we were the union of Franklin, Delaware, and Logan County. We just got union in our blood to be united. But losing my train of thought. The appreciation for what we have, like graduating high school in 2004, and just the ones that would say this town's ridiculous, I'm out of here. A lot would have eventually come back, and but the idea I'm getting at is you don't know what you have until you miss it, and I think it's just sometimes we take for granted how good we've got it because you go. I mean, I always wanted to go out and kind of do a study to try to find other communities that were similar enough to ours and kind of compare and contrast because I think in reality it is quite nice.
You use the word collaboration, and I know to some it may not appear that there's some collaborating going on, but for years we've had the Union County Council of Governments that has been meeting on a monthly basis. That includes myself, now Zach Howard, the superintendent of schools, and Bill Narducci, the Union County administrator. We meet on a monthly basis, collaborating on various things that we can work together on and coordinate with each other. It's been going on now for probably 12 years, and it serves a strong purpose
Mm-hmm.
of trying to bring our goals and objectives from each of the entities together. And then, as a side note to that, we also have a council of governments that we work closely with the union with the 33 corridor
Mm.
council of governments, which we now call the Beta District, which is a 35-mile stretch of road between Dublin and TRC. This Beta
Yeah.
District is a collaboration between the city of Marysville, Union County, and the city of Dublin. And we meet every other month and on a regular basis to talk about how we can collaborate with the development and the growth and the prosperity of this entire 33 corridor as time goes on. So collaboration is happening, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, as I've been involved in, or not involved, or observing this stuff for the last 10 years or so, that's definitely a consistent thing that I have seen, and it's another thing that I think if you don't, if you're not there, it's hard to see it, and if you're just not paying attention, it doesn't seem like it's going on. But yeah, it's definitely definitely a thing. Definitely thankful that we've got a lot of, and over the years, the old timers that have spoken up and just kind of led that charge to an extent, and um, the heritage that we've got around here. I think a lot of good people.
We're just so fortunate. Marysville, where we sit, we've got like a bookend in the city of Dublin, which is one of the most vibrant suburban communities, not only in the state of Ohio, but across the country.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Honda and TRC, which are phenomenal facilities that we're extremely benef- we benefit from them being
Oh, immensely,
in
yeah.
our backyard, and we sit right directly in the middle. Obviously, I didn't even mention the city of Columbus, which, with the growth and the development and the interest of people being in and around the Columbus region, we're just at a very popular place, and that's why this current city council and our administration is working very hard to make sure that as this growth and development occurs, it occurs in a way that benefits our community for years to come. Not just to grow for the sake of growing, but to grow for the sake of the benefit and the prosperity of the city of Marysville.
I'm going for it, yeah. Um, so in that, I was just thinking about, I've heard of trips to Holland, Michigan, and
Uh-huh.
Japan,
Mhm.
and different places. And what are it sounds like, or what I've seen, you've gone on all of them, or most of them, or some of them.
I have.
What perspective do those help you with, and that prosperity moving forward? Of what aspects do you think would be great to bring in that we don't have, or
Yeah, let me
emphasize?
start with Holland, Michigan, and we incorporated that visit as a part of our visioning process. Holland is, and I know many people in the community have probably had an opportunity to go there. Is just a community that is looked up to for what they've done over the past 30 plus years
Mm-hmm.
to develop and redevelop their community. Now, again, Holland is very fortunate to have Lake Michigan right there, and very fortunate to have Hope College and some of those amenities that we
Right.
don't have a college, and our water resource here is Mill Creek. But at the same time, there are aspects and ways that they have developed over the years that I think we can learn from, and we can incorporate some of the things that they implemented years ago. Holland years ago used to have gang problems and things like that, and anybody that would go there today would think, "Oh my gosh, that can't be the
So
case because
different.
it's so different." But so that was an extremely valuable visit to talk to the people that have invested in their community and primarily in their downtown area, and what it took.
When a lot
Um,
of that was preparation and planning, it didn't just happen. It was a
exactly,
lot of it, right? And that
exactly.
was some of my understanding of the trip
Yeah.
was they planned it. Here's what happened.
Yes.
You can plan it now. See what happens.
See what happens. And I would say this. I'm getting up there a little bit, but I'd love to be able to see what this community's going to be and look like in 25 to 30 years, because it's going to be just phenomenal. And
Hmm.
I think it'll be a very appealing place, not only for our longtime citizens, but even for new people to want to come and live and work
Hmm.
and those type of things. Now I'll shift to the Japan trip because that's kind of a
The whole different thing.
all
Yeah.
around different thing. But we have, of course, we've got very strong Japanese ties with the companies that we have here, primarily Honda, but we also have 22 Japanese companies here in the city of Marysville.
Yeah. Which
So
is crazy to think.
we're extremely fortunate. So every 2 years, we usually send a contingent to Japan to not only visit several of those companies, and this year I think we visited 9 of our local companies in their bases in Japan,
Hmm.
but we also were able to visit our friendship city, which is Yori, Japan, which also has a Honda plant.
Oh,
and so that's where we tie into your E. They're also very similar in size to us. They have just over 30,000 people, and so they're
huh.
in very similar size community to Marysville. So we visited our Friendship City, and also during this same time period is the Japan U.S. Midwest Conference. And so we always attend the conference, which is extremely valuable as well. Example is Ohio sent a contingent of about 60 people this year to Japan, and Marysville had four of those of
Cool.
the 60. So we're very well represented. We meet with the companies. Honda's uh, obviously is there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about relationship building and asking them, what can we do? Is there more that we can do to help you in our community? And what can we do to help? And those have really turned out to be invaluable. This was my fourth trip to Japan this year. Like I say, we go every other year
Mm-hmm.
because on the off years, the Japan Midwest Conference is here in the United States in
Oh,
one of the
trades.
Midwest states. And so
Ah.
next year it's in Indianapolis.
Oh.
And so we'll be able to go pretty easily over
Mm-hmm.
to Indianapolis to participate in the Japan Midwest Conference. And the governors from the Midwest states participate. And Governor DeWine has participated in the past, as well as several of the other Midwest state governors. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting thing. I feel like growing up, and it's hard to really understand if it's different or if I'm different. But I feel like all of my friends worked at Honda growing up, or their parents did, and you used to see people in their Honda Whites all the time. It doesn't seem like that's as much as it used to be. Is that, do you know, have any numbers behind that or anything?
well, yeah, we have numbers, and Honda's still extremely
Oh,
vibrant. I mean,
yeah.
they've invested over $8 billion in Union County over the since their inception here. So it's been extremely invaluable. But we do have to. You say something. Obviously, we've been very fortunate to have Scott's as someone that's been in our community for over 155 years, and but some of the things we're trying to do today with some of the redevelopment opportunities we're looking at is trying to diversify our workforce because you don't want to hang everything on a Scott's or a
Mm-hmm.
Honda to be there forever, or if they have to adjust, that you have
Well, they
more
are
of
right
a,
now. Yeah.
yeah. And so you have the ability to diversify your workforce and be more stable
Mm-hmm.
during maybe some times that can be unstable for certain
And
companies.
I think that's another thing that I've heard about. I guess guilty by association, Marysville, but that Columbus, however long ago, 150 years ago, we were kind of a crossroads, Central Ohio, of people coming from all different areas, kind of crossed through Columbus, and that kind of lend itself to a legacy of diverse economic input. And so when we've had economic cycles, we don't necessarily. I've heard this once or twice
Mhm.
before. That like in '08, we were pretty insulated because we were so diverse. We
Mhm.
didn't just get one sector or another, and I've kind of felt that in Marysville that we do have a little bit of that
We do.
diversity, and obviously we always want more.
We
And
do. I haven't mentioned Nestle or some of the other opportunities that we have here locally. Obviously, we have Sumitomo and Moriyuku located right there in our innovation park. So we do have some diversity here. But the more diversity you have, much of our workforce as well is in automotive.
hmm
So, that's where you want to make sure you get outside of the automotive area
yeah,
and also strengthen in those areas as well. So yeah, we're just and so I want people to understand that some of the redevelopment that they're going to see over the next several years on an area that we call Marysville East or Marysville South
yeah. Let's dive into
is
some of
is
those.
is is an opportunity for us to do just that and creating a more diversified workforce and strengthen our tax base. We're one of the few communities anymore that are at 1.5% income tax. And so if you look at the communities out there, especially in the Columbus region, they're all at either 2 or 2.5% income tax. So we're very fortunate.
Yeah, I remember seeing Mr. Joe Case did a little story on that and
Yep.
gave some perspective to that. So you want to dive into some of these upcoming projects? There's too many to pick from.
There's quite a bit to pick from. The one thing I want to make sure is extremely evident: our city council is very diligent. Uh, believe me, extremely diligent on making sure we get the right type of business and development for what our community needs today. I can't give our city council enough credit for how they've handled what's come before us
Mm-hmm.
over the last couple years. But on Marysville East, which is about um, approximately 700 acres of land, which people here may know as the Lees used to farm that land on the east side of 33.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be a redevelopment of different types of uses. Could be um, all types, but it's not. It's going to be more of a. It's not going to be a strong, heavy manufacturing
Right.
development type. It's going to be more streamlined, pharmaceutical uh, type things, and I could name a bunch. There's no sense doing that, but we're going to look at those type of uses that can really strengthen not only our workforce, but also strengthen our tax base. And it's a perfect location because it's between Scotts Lawn Road and where you come up to the city. It's that whole section right there.
Right.
And there'll be internal roadways and things to connect that area. And it's a prime area for growth for the city in the future.
Mm-hmm. And earlier you were mentioning Marysville South. That
Yes.
there's some kind of the maybe not a pivotal spot in that,
Yeah.
but kind of some decisions ahead.
Yeah, we've got about 500 acres there on the south side of the airport. There's an interest to redevelop that site as well. But City Council is being very cognizant of the concerns of the traffic that we don't want to place on Weaver Road.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're really looking at some options on how to redirect and focus the traffic more toward Industrial Parkway.
Yep.
And so there's some neat ideas that will be coming out here in the not too distant future. But it's also going to be the type of use that it is not a real heavy employee generator. So it's about as much as I can get into it today, but I think it's going to keep into account not only a good use of a site that we don't want to stretch our community into creating. Traffic has been a concern of people as of late, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
want to throw a bunch of traffic on Weaver Road, and we want to direct it in the appropriate direction, which is probably Industrial Parkway, but
Right.
also maybe not a heavy employee driven type
Too
business.
many people in and out. At a presentation years ago, somewhat recent, and it's probably been 2 or 3 years at least, but a map of proposed thoroughfares through town.
Yes.
And that's Ashley and I did our honeymoon in Ireland, and so that was a different perspective on the existing infrastructure that there was probably built for horses,
Mm-hmm.
not for cars.
Mm-hmm.
And so that it's interesting going to a new community and seeing and kind of imagining how the community progressed and grew and the infrastructure that went along with it. And obviously, a lot of these areas weren't made for as many cars and traffic and all the stuff. And so then you have houses and buildings and whatnot that get in the way, and you can't just move things. And so appreciating the struggle of trying to figure out that routing of traffic, and especially when there's a semi that leaks
At
whatever on
least, yeah,
33, and then we've got that.
yeah.
But I think that's going to be one of those things we'll be up against for a long time of
Yeah.
what to do with traffic, and there's probably never a satisfactory solution.
Those type of circumstances always going to create a problem. And now, where we're very fortunate, it very rarely ever happens.
Yeah.
So that type of a circumstance was extremely unfortunate, but it's one of those things. Now we do have a thoroughfare plan. We have a very strong engineering department that is planning and working through what is feasible within those plans to maybe accommodate some adjustments as things occur in the future. Um, but in the big scheme of things, or if people are looking for a, a, major fix, it's the dollars to do what we would need to do
Yeah.
to change that completely would be astronomical. And so we're gonna work within the confines that we have, not only budgetarily, but through our current thoroughfare plan to make sure that our roadways now are as efficient as it can be. Unfortunately, we had some construction going on like West Fifth Street and things like that at the same time this occurred. So this is just exasperates a not a good situation.
Well, so how about the elephant in the room for the traffic? Everybody's looking forward to the 5 points.
Oh wow!
Why don't
Yeah.
why don't we get into that? Because I think that's one of those we were talking before we recorded that's eventually that the baby will be worth it once we get through the labor pains, as they say.
Yeah, we're looking probably at 5 points being a 2027 project, and over the years, and we've received a lot of assistance on how to manage the traffic at 5 points the best way possible.
I was
Not
gonna
o-
say, I don't think there's a
from an efficiency standpoint in that, and the bottom line is a roundabout is the best option, and I'm excited about what that'll do because I've always looked since I arrived in Marysville. I always looked at 5 points, even though it's worked. It hasn't been the most aesthetically pleasing area as you come in to our community. And I think as we transform that from its signalized intersection into a multiple access roundabout, I think it's going to look so much better and traffic is going to move much more efficiently in and around that intersection. The problem's going to be is the time period that it's under
getting there.
construction. It'll probably be, I understand, probably maybe a 4-month construction frame. So all I'm saying is, when that time comes and it's under construction, the best you can, and I think
Be patient.
we'll manage traffic through it. I think, but I would just be very patient. And if you can use other ways to come in and out of the community, like Main Streets exit, or go around to West Fifth and come in that way,
Yep.
that it might just be much better to do during that 4-month time period.
Well, I'm usually trying to be the realist. It's going to be what it is.
It is.
But
It is.
afterwards it'll be, I think just the reality long term to think about how much goes through that intersection and how much is it's a necessity.
Yes. And I think I suggested to you earlier, when we get a little bit further along here, you can have Kyle Hoying, our city engineer, on. He can give you all the particulars to the details of how it's going to change, how the traffic's going to flow, why it's going to be more efficient, and why we'll need the patience of the community as we go through the project.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so that makes me think about the what word would you like to use? The controversy in town of growth and anti-growth and all of this stuff. The biggest thing to me boils down to how do we keep our small town roots and all of those things.
Yep.
And what I was just thinking about 5 points. Sometimes in life the best parts are the quirky things. you
Yeah.
know, and so 5 Points is kind of one of those quirky things that makes
Mhm.
us unique and has
Mhm.
some character to it.
Mhm.
And, um, you got if you can't hold on to everything, something's got to go at some point and things. So anyway, from the city's perspective, from your perspective, what is a good or good, reasonable, and
Let let me just start by reassuring people that our city council is very cognizant of, not only the concerns of how growth impacts us, but, how this community, um, can do it in a very high quality way. And
mm-hmm,
so our city council's fantastic in this regard. They're representing, their citizens well.
mm-hmm,
And I would only reassure people, I don't like to often use the term growth. I like to, again, use the term prosper. And as this community prospers, I think not only can we make it what everybody's always known our community to be, but even improve upon it with certain types of developments that I
mm-hmm.
think can bring amenities that this community will love to see as time goes on. So uh, there's nobody more cognizant, as I'll say before, as our city council
Mm-hmm.
on trying to make sure we keep the blueprint of what this community has been and what will be into the future. But understand, we are gonna prosper, and it's just the nature of, just as I said before, we're in like a perfect location here. A lot of people like living in a community like ours where getting to multiple places is pretty easy. So getting into the city of Columbus or getting into the Dublin area or getting to Delaware, uh, you know, it's a pretty good place to be if you want to go to any of those
Yeah, I've
locations.
always said Marysville's the best of both worlds. I can go 9 miles north and be in the middle of nowhere on my little chunk of ground, or I can go kind of, almost 9 miles south and be in Dublin and have access to all of Columbus. And so, yeah, and especially when you throw it in Delaware, that triangle area.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's so many reasons, and that's why I chose to stay
Yeah.
because that and the influence of Honda, Nestle's, and Scott's, and all of the things, and the culture that we've got, and just the it's because I'm definitely in the I don't need all the growth, all the I don't need to prosper as much, but and I'll find myself at times, man, I can't find anybody that I know, and then I go through a period of, oh, there's everybody, and so
You
it's
know,
still
I
there.
I was born and raised in Marion, Ohio.
Mm.
Okay, and fantastic community, and Marion's doing some really good things today.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, Marion went through some tough times and has gone through some tough times because they lost the Marion Power Shovel and they lost some other businesses that really affected them uh, in a negative way for a number of years.
Right.
They're very fortunate to have some people involved in that community right now that's revitalizing it.
Yeah, I've heard
It's
some good
it's
things.
it's gonna be back, but that's what you don't want to have happen to Marysville.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be if something, and I hope never occurs, but if something would happen with a Scots or a Honda, we've got to position ourselves that
It's a big deal.
we're diversified enough. We can handle changes in the job market a little bit, and I think we're doing everything we can to do that.
Mm-hmm. One of the best things I think over, man, what's it been now? 8? Man, if I had to guess, 7, 8 years. Friday nights uptown. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I joke about the gangs of kids.
Yes.
The ones that are uptown. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to get beat up. I'm joking, obviously, but I just feel like I'm surrounded by all of these high school cliques of kids running around. But to me, that just signifies how it went from, yeah, there's quite a few people uptown or, at the pavilion, and then how it's, man, how alive the uptown gets these days.
Yeah, it's gotten better every year, and it continues to get better. We need to do still a little better job of accommodating those school age kids from the middle school area to the high school area, finding more. activities that they can lock into when we do those uptown events. And we've got some ideas down the road. And
That's a good problem to have.
we've talked to some of the students and some of the kids and what they'd like to see and things like that. So it's a work in progress. But our Friday night uptowns are it's incredible from where they started
Yeah.
to where they're at today.
How long has it been? I feel like it
Yeah.
was yesterday, but it's
Yeah.
probably been 7, 8,
Well,
9 years.
we used to have a little bit more longer than that, because back in like 2011, 2012, we had them on Court Street. If you remember, we had
yep.
we
on
had
the
Uptown
lawn,
Friday
yep,
right on the lawn of the courthouse,
Yep.
and we had a stage at the end there at 6th and Court,
Yep.
and we would have some entertainment there.
It's about 14 years then.
Yeah. So that's where it started, and of course with the transformation of Partners Park and what that created for us a few years thereafter, and the participation of all the businesses that helped make that park possible.
Yep.
It was a game changer and has only enhanced
For sure.
as time has gone on.
But from the small town feel, to me, that those are the opportunities to really, because like I said, buildings are going to change, infrastructure is going to change, but the connectedness, to me, is the big opportunity and the big need. Or not the need, but just
You're exactly right.
those are the opportunities
And we need to make sure we can accommodate people of all ages, regardless. We want them all to feel comfortable coming up to Uptown Friday night.
It's like talking to Carrie yesterday that they're doing I help with streaming the band to the Avalon, so sensory friendly opportunity for whoever might want to go in there.
Absolutely.
So that was one thing I was talking to Ed Michelson on the Visioning Project, and just commenting about how to, and it's part of the goal here is to create more opportunities for conversation. And what are your thoughts on more conversations? What can we all do to at a ground level, so to speak, participate more? Kind of when I went back to earlier of sometimes I feel like the projects start so far out, I don't pay attention until they're happening, but then everything's set. Like, how do we all get more involved, and like where are the opportunities to?
Well, let me give you an example. When we had one of our public meetings on London Avenue down there for our visioning planning,
Mm-hmm.
one of the first ones we had, I had an individual at that meeting that came up to me late in the meeting and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about taking this into the high school and talking to the students?" So there you go. That's a perfect example of how someone with an idea, which was an exceptional idea, I would have liked to have thought we might have thought of it anyway, but it jogged my thought process, and immediately we started saying, let's reach out to the superintendent, let's reach out to the principals,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see if we can get into schools and get their thoughts on the visioning plan itself.
Well, and there for a while, that was kind of the part of the conversation of, man, kids are leaving. How do we keep them here?
Exactly.
Hit them first, or early on, and say, hey, here's what we're going to do to keep you.
We want our young adults to feel very comfortable coming back to their hometown, and that's why we've talked a lot about diversification of workforce. That's why over the last few years we've tried to diversify our housing market a little bit.
I was going to say that's.
I mean, I know it at times it's frustrated people, but what we're trying to create here is multiple different types of housing options for people to have. Because I know when I arrived in 2011, and it was a very strong single family household community. We had a couple apartment complexes or something like that, but not a lot of condos, not a lot of different types of housing. And having that gives people a lot of options depending on where they're at in their lives, where they're at in their lifestyle, from the young professional to the senior citizen to the elderly.
For sure.
We need to have those options.
Well, and I think just I almost think about it that the growth we had before the growth that we have now, like even just that, and as a real estate agent, the clients that are, oh yeah, my parents now come, and that, so that first wave creates then those successives and the kids, the parents that come. And so it was an inevitability.
No, I tend to agree with people. I think we've reached a point right now with the the apartment complex concept that maybe we're
We
at a
got
good
it. Yeah.
we're at a good place. So I don't think there's a whole lot of areas that another apartment complex can be constructed at
Be
this
in.
point.
Yeah.
But it's something we have to listen. And what we always ask developers is, what do you have differently that we don't already have in this community?
Mm-hmm.
And is there a product that you have that can help us even have another type of housing option for
Yeah.
people to consider?
Well, great question to ask because
Yeah. Yep.
said serve the residents.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're probably getting to a point where maybe we're losing folks. Is that camera still on?